Here's this week's My Boat feature.
This week on My Boat, we're going to take a look at the routine maintenance you should be doing for your four-stroke outboard. And here to help us with the project is Darryl Sheppard from BoatMax. Darryl, thanks for coming out to help. So what are we going to do on the Mercury today?
Well, what we're going to look at is the general maintenance that we do as a dealership that you can try to do yourself at home. And that includes fluid changes, lubricating all the grease points, also draining the gear case, and any other little maintenance tips like that.
Well, that's great. Let's get started. With the engine cowl removed and the correct oil, filter, plugs, grease, and gear oil on hand, we are ready to get started. The first task was to change the crankcase oil. While Mercury 4-strokes have a drain plug, the easiest way to remove the old oil is to remove the dipstick and siphon oil out. Doing it yourself, you can use an inexpensive hand pump or a vacuum or electric oil extractor. While this method may be a little slower, it is less messy. With the oil extracted, the next step is to remove the oil filter using the correct size filter wrench or adjustable strap wrench. To keep the oil out of the cowling, you should stuff a rag below the filter. Before installing the new filter, make sure you coat the filter's O-ring seal with fresh oil so it seals properly. Carefully screw the filter in place and tighten it by hand to seat the O-ring. Finally, lightly seat the oil filter with the wrench without over-tightening. The oil fill cap is conveniently located on the back of the power head for easy access. Make sure you use a funnel to avoid spilling the oil and fill the crankcase with the correct amount and the specified grade of OEM oil. And remember, if you do change your own oil and filter, keep the receipts for your warranty records. Finally, reinstall the cap and recheck that the oil is at the correct level on the dipstick after running the motor briefly. As part of your regular maintenance, you should check all of the control cables for the correct and free movement and the throttle linkages as well. At the same time, all wires and hoses should be checked for tightness and wear. Next, lube the tilt assembly, pumping slowly until grease appears at the seal. Then repeat the procedure for the swivel bracket, the second tilt lube point, and the steering. Although the service manual calls for a plug change after 3 years, Darryl recommended an annual inspection of the plugs and wires. First, remove the bolts and the cover over the plugs. Disconnect the ignition wires in pairs, then remove the plugs for inspection. If the plug shows a light color on its tip, it should be good, and if it is black and fouled, it must be replaced. Before installing the new plugs, make sure you gap them correctly. Finally, when tightening the plugs, make sure not to over-tighten and damage the plug or head. Okay, Darryl, we've done everything for the maintenance for the power head, so what's up next?
We're going to go down to the gear case. We're going to drain the fluid. We're then going to pressure test it to make sure that all the seals are in proper working condition and not leaking. We're going to then refill it and then move on to the prop, remove the prop, check for fishing line that could be wrapped around that seal, and also lube it up and put the prop back on.
Terrific. So let's go.
To drain the gear oil, first remove the drain plug, then the level and vent plugs, and allow the oil to drain. With the new high-performance gear oils that are blue in color, it is difficult to detect water in the oil, so a pressure test is the best method to check for leaks. First, the vent and level plugs are screwed back in, and then the pump is attached to the fill hole and pumped up to between 10 and 15 psi for 5 minutes. If the pressure holds, the lower unit seals and gaskets are good. Having passed the leak test, the lower unit is filled with OEM high-performance gear oil by pumping it into the fill hole on the torpedo until it begins to come out of the level hole. Next, screw the plug into the level opening and add more oil until oil exits the vent hole. Screw in the vent plug, remove the pump, and install the fill plug. The final inspection Darryl recommended was to remove the prop and inspect the shaft and seal area for fishing line that can get wrapped around the shaft and damage the seal. As well, before reinstalling the prop, coat the shaft with 2,4-C grease to ensure it won't seize on, and reinstall the prop.
Well, there you have it. That's all the steps you need to go through to accomplish the routine maintenance for your four-stroke outboard. Now, whether you do it yourself or have it done at your dealers, it has to be done to make sure you get the maximum life out of your outboard.